Thank you, Sarge. Thank you, Deshaun. I thank you for years of service, and thank you for your continued commitment to supporting our students, veterans, as they pursue their educations. And thank you, Hillsborough Community College, for hosting us today. My wife, Jill, is a community college professor, and I've known for a long, long time that community colleges, she says, are the secret, best-kept secret in America in terms of our education system. And this is just one reason why. You help people take the next step in their lives to get the training and accreditation they need, including our vets who, after years of dedication to our country, are ready to build civilian lives of meaning and of opportunity. Less than 1% of the population of our country chooses to serve our country in the military. Less than 1% risk everything to defend our nation, our values, and everything we hold dear. And the other 99% of us, we owe them. We owe them our thanks, our gratitude, and our respect. In my view, based on reports and interviews, President Trump has proven he's unfit to hold the office of the presidency time again, but nowhere are his faults more glaring and more offensive, to me at least, than when it comes to his denigration of our service members, veterans, wounded warriors, the fallen. Quite frankly, I won't say get angry, quite frankly, it makes me very upset the way he gets in front of a camera and crows about how much he has done for veterans and then turns around and insults our service members and fallen heroes when the camera's off. Calls them suckers and losers. My son, Bo, who as a U.S. attorney volunteered to go 6 months to Kosovo to help them set up a criminal justice system. He did such a good job there, the Kosovo government named a highway after him, erected a war memorial. And then he had to get an exemption because he's Attorney General of the state of Delaware to go with his unit to Iraq. And he went for a year in Iraq. Came home with a Bronze Star. He's gone now, but he was no sucker. He was a man like many of the people he served with, women and men, who served with him, served in a way that they should be honored as heroes, not in some derogatory way. They didn't come home losers. They came home heroes. And I think it's an absolute disgrace. Donald Trump has no idea about the ideas that animate women and men who sign up to serve. Duty, honor, country. That's what service and patriotism is all about. Duty, honor, country. It was reported from a very reliable source and confirmed by many major outlets that he said to a fallen father, a member of the service, the father of a fallen soldier, who himself was a member of the service, as he's standing by the gravesite, he allegedly said, "I don't get it. What was in it for them?" What was in it for them? Donald Trump doesn't seem to be able to conceive the idea of selfless service or being part of a cause that's bigger than yourself. Every day I carry with me a card, and I've been doing this for the better part of 14 years. It's my schedule. On the back of it, wherever the schedule ends, there's always a black box that I have here. It says Daily Troop Updates. U.S. troops died in Iran and Afghanistan. 6,000, as of today, 923. Not roughly 6,900, 923. Because every one of these fallen angels left behind a family, left behind a community. There's an empty seat at that table now. U.S. troops wounded in Iraq and Afghanistan, 53,192. Not over 53,000. I've flown back on those C-130s with caskets draped coming out of Iraq and Afghanistan. I've been there at Dover Air Base, and those bodies come home. You know, and think of all the folks, and you all know it, coming home with unseen injuries. Tens of thousands coming home with unseen injuries, post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, mental health challenges. As a nation, I've been criticized for this over the last 30 years when I've said it, but as a nation we have many obligations to our children, to the elderly, to the poor, to those in need. But I believe we only have one truly sacred obligation: to prepare and equip our troops that we send into harm's way, and to care for them and their families when they return. We owe our veterans the future of security and dignity that they've earned, and it starts by protecting the VA, restoring the trust in the VA, because the VA must be the premier provider of health care services to promote our veterans' overall well-being. That's why the VA has more specialized knowledge about how to treat veterans' unique health needs, beyond physical and mental, than the private sector does by far. It provides a community of understanding and support, facilitates accountability for veterans' health and well-being as a whole, that is absolutely vital for successful outcomes. We have a responsibility to ensure that we're providing veterans with world-class health care they deserve in every situation. That means hiring more doctors and medical personnel and professionals to work at the VA, including positions essential to veterans' health care, nurses and psychologists. We need to offer these medical professionals the incentive to join the VA. We need to pay them a competitive salary with the private sector. We also have to do more to build a pipeline of doctors and nurses, especially in rural areas. If you live far away from a VA center, it's absolutely essential that you can see a doctor closer to home. That's why during our administration, President Obama signed the VA Access, Choice, and Accountability Act into law in 2014. President Trump's like to say he passed the VA choice. But just like everything else he seems to be saying, it's a figment of his imagination, it's a flat lie. Now we need to keep working to implement the Mission Act effectively and efficiently so that it works for all our veterans, while always making sure community care providers are held to the same high-quality standard as VA centers. We're going to make sure our women veterans and our LGBTQ veterans get the service and respect they deserve from culturally competent providers. And critically, we're going to make sure that no veteran is locked out of treatment for conditions related to toxic exposure from burn pits or traumatic brain injuries they experienced in the line of duty. We made that mistake with Agent Orange. As a senator, I fought for decades to help Vietnam veterans get access and help. We were able to expand on it during the Obama-Biden administration. We can't let this be delayed again. Denying access because a vet could not prove a direct connection if you were exposed to Agent Orange was wrong. It's to be presumed if the ailment you have is caused by your exposure to Agent Orange that you get treatment. We've got to seriously tackle the mental health crisis we have. A suicide epidemic is claiming far too many of our veterans and service members. You know, one of the saddest things when my son came home after a year in Iraq, he was back as Attorney General. The week before Christmas, he came over to the house and he said, "Dad, I don't know what I'm going to do." There was a Marine veteran who had been deployed a total of 6 times, if my memory is correct, who was in a relatively a modern, upscale neighborhood, middle-class neighborhood. And they get up in the morning and they get out in his, I think it was a Dodge Ram, started down the street in front of his house, which was no sidewalks. Saw a woman walking her dog, ran over her, killed the dog, put her in the back of his pickup truck, took her down to I-95 right by where there was the all the sand pile for emergencies. Molested her, put her back in the truck, came home, and called the state police and said, "I just killed someone." There was a voice in my head saying I had to kill someone. I had to kill someone. Turned himself in. You know, the latest data suggests that almost 600 veterans, as well, are dying by suicide every year. Just here in Florida, 600 a year. It's devastating. There aren't any easy answers to this, but we can do so much better than we're doing now. We have an obligation to do so much better. We have to help our heroes understand that it's an honorable thing to do and take strength to reach out and ask for help if they're suffering from unseen wounds. They're so accustomed to being asked not to ask for anything. We have to end the stigma surrounding mental health treatment. When they do reach out, when they call the crisis hotline, or walk into a VA hospital, or visit a VA center for counseling, we have to make sure, damn sure, that there's no one turns them away. No one tells them they have to wait. Part of it's also making sure the veterans feel a sense of security and connection and mission in the civilian world, as they did on active duty. Better employment opportunities, meaningful career trajectories, education like the one student vets get here at Hillsborough Community College, which translated into greater opportunities for our vets, not just put money on the pockets of for-profit fraudulent outfits, because we got to stop that. It all matters. It especially matters how their families are treated. John Milton, the poet, wrote these lines: "They also serve who only stand and wait." Well, military families, husbands, wives, sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, they serve every single day. Tending to their specific needs and unique challenges should never be an afterthought for us. It's a national security imperative. Fulfilling our promise to our veterans and our military families, caregivers, and survivors is critical to ensuring we not only meet our obligations, but the future generations continue to volunteer to serve. My wife, Jill, she worked on this more than about anyone. During our administration, she and Michelle Obama teamed up and started an outfit called Joining Forces, a nationwide initiative to drive concrete commitments to support service members, veterans and their families, and caregivers and survivors. To help make sure teachers are equipped to better meet the needs of military children in their classrooms, and help bring down some of the barriers, because a vast majority of those kids in the school have no idea, or little Johnny or Mary or Jamal is worried because his mommy or daddy is stationed in a foreign land. It makes it so much harder for military spouses to find good jobs and build their careers. We have to change it, and we're working on that. Working with leaders like Lauren Weiner, hiring our heroes, and military spouses employment program. For example, making it easy to carry your professional credentials with you from one state to another when your spouse moves. Harris-Biden administration is going to relaunch that effort and keep pushing further to make it easier for military spouses and veterans to find meaningful careers, to ensure teachers know how to support military children in their classrooms, and to improve support for caregivers and survivors so much more than we do now. This isn't a theoretical commitment. It's personal. The year that my son Bo deployed to Iraq with his National Guard unit, that's when Jill and I learned what it really means to be part of a military family. You end up praying every night and every morning for the safety of your child far from home in the middle of a war zone, facing unknown dangers. every family gathering, they're missed. Every time the children ask why mommy or daddy isn't there to tuck them in, it hurts. These are the challenges most Americans never have to face. These are the women and men, their families. They're the absolute best that our country has to offer. They're the backbone of America. And some of the most meaningful moments of my vice presidency of those 8 years was in Thanksgiving. We'd host a Thanksgiving meal for the wounded veterans at the vice presidential residence. We spend every Christmas Day visiting the patients at Walter Reed Hospital. I spend time with our wounded warriors in trauma centers all across the country and around the world. And you know what the message I often heard when I walk in and say, soldier, sailor, Marine, what can I do for you? Whether they're amputees or not, their arms not, they try to pull themselves up and try to salute. They say, yes, sir. I want to go back to my unit. Can you get me back to my unit? Does that sound like the heart and the grit and patriotism of a sucker or a loser? Sounds like heroism to me. Sounds like what patriotism is all about. Our military is the greatest fighting force in the history of the world, and that's not hyperbole. It's the God's truth. Deserves a commander-in-chief who respects their sacrifice, understands their service, and will never betray the values they defend. They deserve better than goes on now with their commander-in-chief, and if I have the honor of ever serving as the next commander-in-chief, I want every single member of the armed forces, our veterans, their families, their caregivers, and their survivors to know I will never treat you with anything other than the honor and respect and dignity you deserve. I'll always have your back, like you've had our back, the country's back. Thank you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.